All right, we're continuing from last week, where the Alter Rebbe laid the foundation, for two souls. Aside from drivers that each and every one of us has, each and every one of us, as the Alter Rebbe brought from Shari Gdusha, from the Gates of Holiness, from Rabbi Chaim Vital, which was the foremost student of the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria Ashkenazi, the famed Kabbalist, who is interred in Tzfat. Rabbi Chaim Vital, as we spoke about last week, was commanded by his rabbi, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Arizal, to pen all of his writings. This writings is known throughout the world as Kitvei HaArizal, the writings of the Arizal. And one of the books is called the Gates of Holiness. All of these books are books of very deep Kabbalah, very deep-rooted mysticism. And the mysticism reveals the inner dimension of the physical and the corporal world. You ever think to yourself, why do I behave the way I do? Why is it that sometimes I'm motivated for sheer holiness and I get ecstatic with spirituality, and there are other times where I feel angry, where I feel compelled for corporal things? Do we have a split personality? And so the Alter Rebbe explains that in fact, beyond drivers, each and every one of us are endowed with two souls. Each one of these souls is a consciousness, as the world understands it, a point of reference to my being here in this world. As we're going to see, the very first conscience that we are equipped with, which we're endowed with, is the animal soul conscious, the body consciousness. This soul is endowed immediately upon conception. This soul is responsible for all of our corporality, all of our physicality. Every corporal process within the human frame is activated and maintained by the animal soul. It is absolutely necessary. It is not evil, it is parv. It's neutral in its perception. However, it is called the animal soul not because it's endowed within animals. Animals do not have an animal soul. Animals have a spark of God that gives it its life force. The animal soul is called the animal soul because it shares a very unique trait that all animals have, which is survivability. Being that the animal soul is responsible for our corporal and physical body and life, it must always protect itself. It's not evil when it's self-obsessed in order to maintain its life. When something threatens the animal soul's life, that's when reactions begin. As we see, there could be different animals which are very docile, quiet, when left alone, when fed on time, and so on and so forth. They could be very relaxed and very okay. But when they feel threatened, their fangs come out, their claws come out, they start growling. This is a mechanism that's instilled within the animal in order to protect itself. Survival. So too we have this animal soul, and this is the very first soul that we are endowed with. Upon conception, this is the soul that we're given. This is a soul that's responsible to maintain our life. The godly soul, as we're going to see later on, only begins its insertion within boys during their Brit Milah, and completes its full insertion by 13 in boys or 12 in girls. As we're going to see, the difference between the animal soul and the godly soul in their orientation is that the animal soul always gravitates towards the world. As Shlomo HaMelech says, who knows, I'm going to paraphrase, who knows the nature of the animal, which is always gravitates downwards, and the godly always climbs upwards. The animal soul is emotionally based. Its entire being is emotions. And we call that reactions. Because those emotions are not being led by any intellect. There is no intellect that drives these emotions. It's just what it feels in the spur of the moment. Like a little child. Incidentally, Kabbalah explains that there's a great similarity between animals and children, in that both animals and children are emotionally driven. And that's why we see that children could be 1 second very happy, very excited, and very next second be in tantrum mode, in anger mode. You see 1 second he says, I love you, you're the best daddy, you're the best mommy, I love you, all I want to do is do good for you. And a second later when he doesn't get what he wants, I hate you, you don't love me, and this. Wait a second, didn't you say before you loved me? What happened? No, that's what the emotion that was revealed at that moment, it was chesed. But now the emotion is gvura. And there's no thread of intellect over here. It's the intellect that filters the emotions, that sets the course for healthy and holy emotions. And incidentally, that's why the bar et bat mitzvah is when the child becomes an adult. Why do we say that the child becomes an adult at 12 for a girl or 13 for a boy? How could you say that? But rather, what's the main key difference between a child and an adult? Intellect. What governs your day-to-day? Children are governed by their emotions. Whatever they feel, that's reality. Adults are governed by intellect, intelligence. Not what I feel. I might not feel good, but I know I have to do something. So there's something very important. We see, and by the way, and this is very important to put over here, the second Chabad Rebbe explains, based on the verse in Bereshit, in Genesis, Na'aseh Adam Betzalmeinu, when God said, let us make mankind in our image, there are many explanations, some of which we're going to be delving in future chapters, but one I would like to share with you right now is what the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Dov Ber, the second Chabad Rebbe, the son of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Shneur Zalman, who wrote the Tanya, explains that the word tselem, image, is comprised of 3 letters, which is the map for our life. Tzadik, Lamed, and Mem. Tzadik refers to the first 12 to 13 years of a child's life. What is tzaddik? Tzaddik is the letter tzaddik, but we know numerologically equivalence, the gematria of tzaddik is 90. We're going to see later on the Tanya that each soul is endowed with 10 soul powers. 3 intellectual faculties, chokhmah, binah, da'at. Right brain is father, wisdom. Left brain, mother, understanding. Middle brain, da'at, knowledge. The fusion, the synergy between right brain and left brain, which then creates emotions. Healthy emotions are born here, not here. If an emotion is born here, the person's in trouble. Yes, in Western culture, we're told, follow your heart, whatever you feel, whatever your gut instinct is. But that's all animalistic. Healthy emotions begin in the intellect. And that's what makes the main difference between a child and an adult. Tzaddik is numerologically equivalent to 90, which is the 9 out of 10 attributes. And in Kabbalah explains each attribute in itself must be included with all the other 10 attributes. So for example, as we learned not too long ago, in order for there to be healthy love, I say, I love you. Well, what does that mean? Let's look underneath the hood of that sentiment. Love is an attraction. But in order for the love to be not just maintained, for it to grow, for it to become substantive, for it to become real, and not just dissipate in any given second, the relationship can't just be based on the sheer emotion of love. Rather, as we learned in the Sfirat HaOmer classes after Pesach, each attribute must be inclusive of all the other attributes for emotion to be called illuminescent, holy, and healthy.
And valid.
And then it's going to be a valid emotion. Others not. I could love you 1 second, next second I can't stand you. So it wasn't a love then. So what does that mean? For example, as we spoke about before, there's chesed, I love you. But then you have to make sure that chesed in itself is included with the attribute of chesed. There has to be a chesed of chesed. Where's the first place if you know that your love is real? If you really love the person? What's the gauge? Where could you say that I know? Some people say it's in their looks, in this. How do you know if it's real? First place you look is chesed shebechesed, kindness of kindness. What does that mean? Oh, I love you so much. I love you so much. Yeah, but you know that thing that you like doing? Don't bother me with that. That's a you thing. Keep me out of that. That doesn't interest me so much. I love you.
But not that.
But not the things that you like. Those are you things. Do it on your own time. Don't bother me with these things. Chesed shebechesed, kindness within kindness, means that not only I love you, if I truly love you, and we said before in Hebrew, ahava, aleph, hey, vet, hey, is numerologically equivalent to 13, which is equivalent to the word echad, one. Love is the act of alignment, of becoming one. How do you know if you're aligned with the other person? Not just feeling an emotion towards another person. If what interests them interests you. If you could align yourself with their interests. Chesed shebechesed. Next, there has to be a gvura shebechesed. There has to be a discipline of chesed. A tapered chesed. What does that mean? Number one, in order for the love to be real, because love is, as we're going to see, is an expansion. It's like water. It goes everywhere, saturates everything. That kind of chesed that's not tapered creates what psychology known as what was just jumped out of my head? Wow. Codependency. That my entire love for you has to be controlling and stymieing you. There's no room for you. You're only as important as my love. And therefore there's no room for your individuality, for your uniqueness. You're only as important as my love. So long as you're subservient to me and needy of me, that's what I love you. Gvura shebechesed gives room, tapers the one who's doing the love, and leaves room for the other to be able to express individuality. Because if I say I love you, there has to be a you. Means you with your uniqueness, with your understanding, and therefore that love also allows for tiferet, for balance, for harmony, for synergy. In other words, we could discuss. We might have different opinion, and that's okay, because just because we have different opinion doesn't turn me off from you. If all we had was chesed and love and expansion based on our commonality, as soon as you have a uniqueness, we're going to have an issue. But Gvura Shebechesed allows me to love you and your individuality because of your individuality. Because you're not like me. Again, Gvura Shebechesed. Again, if we understand alignment like a body, the left side of the body and the right side of the body are radically different from each other. The left ventricles versus the right ventricles are radically different from each other. The right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, radically different. However, each one, entire focus is not themselves. How do I lend myself to empower the other side? The left ventricle isn't mad at the right. How come you're just spending and spending and spending? And the right ventricle isn't mad at the left ventricles. How come you're always like pulling? What's the matter? They understand that each one is there to complete each other. And for that each one must maintain its uniqueness. A child has to be emotional. That's the tzaddik. The first 12 to 13 years of a child's life must be emotional. A child must develop their emotions. They have to constantly, and you see that they're constantly going through different emotions, ranging from this one to other, because you're developing. And our aim as parents is to help them understand these emotions. Because as we spoke about previous class, if we are, God forbid, and in previous generations, there were somewhat masters of doing this, suppressing emotions. Stop crying, there's no reason to be sad right now. Or why you get so angry? Our aim is to help the children understand their emotions. To validate that this is in fact what you're feeling now, right now. By the way, it's very important. If you're validating a child's emotions, it's very important to say the word now. This is what you're feeling now. You have to identify this so you understand what's in your toolbox, because we're going to see that our emotions are our tools to deal with this world. Do I want to gravitate to this world? Do I want to work over here, or do I need to move away? Do I need to push very hard? Could I give somebody else a spotlight? Is this a place to connect or not connect? These are our tools to deal with the world. The lamed in tselem, an image, lamed is numerologically equivalent to 30, and that's between the age of 12 in a girl, or 13 in a boy, and 20. That lamed represents the beginning of the mind, the opening of the intellect. Lamed is equivalent to 30, which is 3 with 10 inclusions, Chochmah, Bin, and Dat. At 12 or 13 is when the child's mind kicks in. All of a sudden, they become self-aware. They start understanding, I am here. What does that mean that I'm here? Why am I here? And all of a sudden, you see they start experimenting with this and this. Why? Because if the meaning of life, the purpose of life, for the purpose of their individual life is not endowed to the children, and it's not fine-tuned and refined, then the children start looking for this on their own. And in this world, they start looking for it, as is, that song, looking for love in all the wrong places. They start looking for meaning and purpose in all the wrong places. Al Kopanim, at 13 or 12 for a girl, until 20 is when our minds kick in. And we start thinking. And incidentally, we see in schooling, We do the bulk of our schooling between 12 and 13, 12 and 20, where the heavy material is given to us. Henceforth, from 20 and up, as the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot chapter 5 says, Esrim Nirdov, 20, the age of 20 is to start chasing. What does that mean? The mem is makifim, the encompassing soul powers. We have 10 powers within the frame of our body, and there are 2 auras. They're 2 encompassing, because these parts of the soul is way too lofty and intense to be inserted into the body. What do they correspond to? The first aura, the first encompassing power corresponds to will, desire, and the highest one is pleasure, yechida. From 20 upwards, we start working on what we want and what gives us pleasure. This is a configuration of human being. Pleasure creates desire. Desire wakens up and channels intellect. Intellect gives birth to emotions, and emotions bring on practical behavior. That's the configuration from above to below. Make sense? Mikey, make sense? What's the question?
Still trying to process to ask the question.
The what?
Still trying to process to ask the question.
The what?
Still trying to process.
Which part?
Everything.
I have a problem.
Which part? Which part? Which part?
Which one specifically?
Don't put your fingers like this. Which part?
I'm trying to think without my fingers. The line was 30. So each.
Lamed means that 30 means 3 intellectual faculties, chokhmah, bina, and dat. At 13 in boys and 12 in girls, the mind kicks in. And the mind is comprised of 3 faculties, and each faculty is included with all the other 10. There's a chokhmah sheba bina sheba dat sheba chesed sheba gvura sheba. Chassidus explains this, and this is how, and we're going to explain it later on.
So each of those 3, in Chokhmah, Bin, and Dat, there's 10 levels.
Yeah. A healthy mind has the ability to experience true humility. An unhealthy mind is based on itself. A healthy mind is able to give room for development and encourage development of the mind. A healthy mind produces emotions. A healthy mind is developed as a chesed. Let's expand on this idea. But has to have a gvura. We can't just keep on ruminating over the same idea. There has to be a time where we put in a period over here. And so on and so forth. Asher, make sense?
No, totally.
Huh?
Yeah.
Asher, make it l'chaim. Make it l'chaim. Asher, make it l'chaim. Make it l'chaim, Asher.
Is that how you went through school too?
David, l'chaim, l'chaim,
Never
l'chaim.
say you don't understand.
Each and every one of us are endowed with these 2 souls, animal soul, and the animal soul is primarily emotional. It is a reactive soul. When we speak about the difference between reacting and responding, all reactions stem from the animal soul. Because animals react, there's no thought. It hurts, I need to defend myself. But maybe this pain is okay. Maybe you have to go through this a little bit. Maybe you have to process this. You don't have to defend yourself. You ever notice that during arguments, what is our first reaction? Let's defend ourselves. And sometimes let me offend the other person, so they'll feel so bad that they will stop questioning. But this is a defense mechanism of the animal soul. It's just trying to protect the survivability. It's not trying to achieve any purpose other than I need to exist, and that's it. And I feel threatened by your words. I feel threatened by your probing. I don't like feeling uncomfortable. The animal soul is hyper-focused on surviving and feeling comfort and pleasure. Anything that disrupts it, and think about the next time you feel angry, sad, or any of these toxic emotions, where is this reaction coming from? And if you know that it's coming from the animal soul, ask yourself, when was the last time I allowed an animal to dictate what I should be doing right now? Will we take directional pointers from animals? No. And yet, often we allow our animal soul to dictate what we should say or not say. Now, mind you, the animal soul is absolutely necessary because it maintains our physical well-being. Yes, we need it. But it comes with a consciousness, and this consciousness must always, like every animal, must be trained and must be put into a framework. Living a corporal physical life is not evil. Judaism does not condone, nor does it ask on any level to be ascetic, to be removed from the physical world. Holiness by Judaism doesn't mean being removed from the corporality. It's just knowing that the corporality is a vehicle to serve God with it. Whether it's money or physical intimacy, going to work, playing a game, exercising, these are all part of the framework that God endowed us to serve Him with. And therefore, each one of these physical, corporal aspect has to have a framework. Asher, does that make sense? Yeah. Good. Okay, let's begin. Let's begin. Okay, let's begin. David, you don't understand how lucky you are to have a friend like Asher. You can't. Okay, let's begin. Let's start reading from the top of the text. Talene, you can go ahead.
From however?
However, yeah.
However, the explanation of the matter, so that we better understand the levels of Tzaddik and Benoni, as well as the various graduations within their ranks, it is to be found, in light of what Rabbi Chaim Vital wrote in Sha'ar HaKadusha, that every Jew, whether righteous or wicked, possesses two souls, as it is written, and neshamot, souls, which I have made.
Okay, so Rabbi Chaim Vital draws from a verse, I have created souls, in plural. On one hand, on the most surface level, we understand that God made many souls in this world. But in Kabbalah explains this is a direct reference that each and every one of us, it doesn't matter if you're completely righteous or completely the opposite of righteous, each and every one of us are endowed with two souls, neshamot, the souls that I've made. God is telling us that each and every one of us has two souls. And this is very important because we see, lahavdil, with all other religions, the aspiration is, how do I get away from my corporality? How do I leave the physical world behind? The holier a person becomes, the less corporal they become. In other religions, what is holiness? Not getting married. Nuns, why don't they get married? Priests, why don't they get married? Because they say, I need to be married to God. And having a human spouse will only interfere with my marriage to God. Buddhist monks and the Indians in Indians in India practice in the ashrams fasts of speaking, of eating as long as possible, body mortifications and so on and so forth. That's not us. If God created the body consciousness, it means that this is godly. God is testifying, I created this. Means this is from me. Let me ask you a question. The first time I heard this, I was like flabbergasted. Which one is holier, the body consciousness or the soul consciousness?
You asked us this, we know the answer. It's the body.
The body consciousness is exponentially higher than the soul consciousness. For the body emanates from an exponentially higher level than the soul.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hence, we're going to see that as the Alter Rebbe was very precise and concise with the wording of the Tanya. The Alter Rebbe would sit and deliberate to write a single vav, etc. And for 6 hours sometimes he would sit and deliberate. Every word is very important. It's very concise. It's very interesting. The first soul that we're introduced to in the Tanya, in the book that teaches us who you, is the animal soul. The godly soul is only going to be starts to be focused on in the second soul, in the second chapter. Why not give precedence to the animal soul, to the godly soul, and then second chapter? But rather to teach us that the entire reason why we're in this world is for the animal soul, is for the body consciousness, is for the corporality. That's the entire reason why we're here. The Torah, the godly soul, is here to activate and reveal the uniqueness, the holiness which is latent deep inside the animal, or deep inside the body consciousness. That's why Judaism doesn't mandate us to get away from physicality. As a matter of fact, when you consider that out of 620 mitzvot, 613 rabbinical, biblical, and 7 rabbinical, and all their offshoots, the majority of the mitzvahs focus on corporality, eating kosher food, putting on physical tefillin, giving physical tzedakah, wool, a tzitzit made out of wool, right? It's all physically oriented. In order to reveal within the physicality, with the corporality, its true essence. It's very interesting because with the advent of modern quantum physics, we know that the physical deep inside has so much energy that's ready to burst. What is the atom bomb? It's a cell. It's a atom that is split in half. A physical atom. That in itself has so much energy, it could power whole cities for years and years, or destroy everything. In other words, in the physicality, there's so much power. And incidentally, this also answers the question, why do we have to go to shul to daven? Why can't I just daven in the middle of the street? We know that physicality has energy to it, and the energy of the place, and the physical aspect of the place has energy. And the energy is either conducive or creates blockages. Okay, continue.
Though the verse speaks of an individual Jew, as it is indicated by the singular form of the word ruach, spirit, in the preceding phrase, when the spirit of a man which emanates from me will be humbled. The plural term souls is nevertheless used, indicating that every Jew possesses 2 souls. These are 2 nefashot, 2 souls and life forces. One soul originates in the kepilah and
the klipa.
Klipa.
Remember that we spoke about this word klipa last time?
Yeah.
The husk, the shell, the incrustation. We know in the vision of Yecheskel, where he saw the divine chariot, the Haftarah that we read on Shavuot, speaks about in a very allegorical way. It could only truly be understood through the inner depth of Kabbalah and Chassidut. Speaks about 4 different type of klipot. There are 3 unholy klipot, 3 unholy incrustations, husks, which are the root of all evil, all non-kosher, all the things which can never be elevated no matter what the intention is. And then there is one klipa which is called klipat noga, the translucent klipa. Okay?
And sitra achara.
Sitra Achra is in Kabbalah, in Aramaic, means the other side. Other side doesn't mean, God forbid, that there's a God and there's the other side to God. But in creating the world for each and every one of us to matter, God had to create an ability to serve Him through our choice. In order for us to be considered God's partners, God had to make the world in a way that each and every one of us are given choices. And those choices, for kosher or not kosher, and so on and so forth, all emanate in divine energy. All unholiness emanates from the three unholy klipot, which is deemed sitra achra, the other side. In other words, this is the side that is not only not conducive, but completely rejects godliness. No matter how much you paint it, no matter how nice you flavor it up, inside is toxicity. So, I'll give you a very simple example. Kosher, what does the word kosher mean? Kosher means fit, valid, fit.
F-I-T?
F-I-T, it's fit, it's valid. Their kosher tefillin means it's fit. This leather, in the way it was made, and with the parchment, it is fit to be able to arouse the inner heart, to transmit to the animal soul. Mind you, where do we put our tefillin? If most people? On the left. Why? Because it gets the animal soul. How many straps do we put around our arms? 7. In order to strap and harness the 7 emotions of the animal soul.
Isn't it because it's facing the heart?
It is the left ventricle.
Okay.
The left ventricle. That's because, as Alter Rebbe, as the Torah explains, the right side of the right ventricle is where the godly soul, and the left ventricle is where the animal soul. We put the tefillin directly against our left ventricle and tie it 7 times in order to harness, to bound the animal. So throughout the day, and that's the kavanah. When we put on the tefillin, what's the intention? When you put the tefillin over your hand, you have the intention that my animalistic emotion will be subdued and utilized for God today.
If men do that, what do women do to subdue their...
Women can never subdue their emotions. They're just...
Good to know.
No. Women are truly always connected. The reason why a woman does not put on tefillin is because we need the tefillin. Men need the tefillin. The origins of the male soul is from the world of tikkun, of correction. And for correction to happen, a person must deal with this and that, but then you could get lost in that. So we need constant reminders. You need pneumatic devices to remind us. We need to daven 3 times. We daven from a sidur. Who knows? What is the root word of the word sidur? Seder, order. You start with Modani, as we learn in the morning, from the lowest tier, and you start climbing upwards. We need that. Men need to start here, go here, and here, and here. Women's soul comes from the world of tohu. Incidentally, that's where the animal soul comes from. And we spoke about, the animal soul is much higher, exponentially higher, and has so much more energy than the godly soul. And that's why the animal soul is emotional, just like the woman. The emotions stem from a much higher place than the intellect. Women don't need these pneumatic devices. Women are equipped with it. It's just a woman needs healthy education growing up to know how good she is, how important she is, how God is literally counting on her for Mashiach to come. Arizal explains in Shar Gilgulim, in the Gates of Reincarnation, that the only reason that the feminine soul descends into this world is to help her masculine counterpart, because she doesn't need that correction. She's beyond correction. Correction is something that happens when something can be flawed. The woman's soul is above this concept of tikkun.
Wow.
Wow.
I haven't heard that before.
Why they don't speak about the Temple of Bethel?
Major ego boost to women.
And you see, that's a craziness when these branches put on tefillin for why would you need this? You're so much higher. You're so much essentially higher. You can't imagine. Every single, looking throughout the Torah, every time men sin in the desert, in Egypt, and this women would never part. When God sent, we spoke about this in the Parsha 2 weeks ago, Shlach HaChameshim, Hashem says to Moshe, send men. So one of the commentaries, the Kli Yakar says, God says to Moshe, you want to send men scouts? Do. But if you listen to me, send women. Send women, it's a sure thing. You send men, I can't guarantee anything to you. Women were never part of the sin of the tree of the golden calf. Women always had a profound love and desire for Eretz Yisrael, more than men. It's the men who wanted to remain in the desert. The women understood we belong in Israel.
But in the 40 years, did any of the women die?
No, it was the men. The men. It was only the men. Only the men. Only the men.
The women that came out of Mitzrayim, they went into Egypt. Wow. I mean, it went to Israel.
But you see, that's the thing, is the woman's neshama is so powerful. And incidentally, and I have to put this here. This is why the klipa, the other side, goes after the woman first and foremost. This is why the klipa tries to break the woman's niut, modesty. Because as we just said before, the body, it actually emanates from a exponentially higher place than the soul. The body is a source of energy. The other side needs a viable host, like a bacteria, like a microbe. It needs a host in order to live. And because of this, the other side tries to make the woman as far away from where she needs to be, because when the woman is not within her zone, when the woman is not feminine, when the woman is discombobulated with her tzniut, with her modesty and so forth, is much worse than the men. Men have to be modest, no question about it. But through the woman, it's a make or break for the entire world. A lot of people say, and this is mistaken, that the woman has to be modest so the men won't look at her. It won't be. No. Men need to keep their eyes to themselves. Mm-hmm. However, the woman must be tzniut, because as Chassidus and Kabbalah explains, our children's psychological welfare depends on it. Because all the energy to the children flows directly through the mother. More than the father. Much more than the father. And when the woman's spiritual psyche is not intact and leaves room for ciphering off, they're going to cipher and they're going to start attacking the children as well. It's hard to internalize, I know, because we're living in a society where it says, do whatever you want, dress however you want, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, we're watching the hyper explosion of anxiety with children, anger with children, drug use amongst children, discombobulation. And at the same time, we're watching this. We spoke about yesterday. We spoke about yesterday about the beaver's tears. You heard about the beaver's tears? Chaim. Remendel Futterfass was once sitting in a Farbrengen. Today it was his 30 years your site. Remendel was once sitting in a Farbrengen, and he was speaking about being devoted to serving God in a holy and healthy manner, and serving God with davening and learning, and sometimes the Yetzer Hara takes over and ... One of the students who was part of the Farbrengen started weeping. And Mendel looked at him and says, so long as those are not beaver tears. What are beaver tears? all of us are guilty at one point or another of beaver tears. What's beaver tears? Beaver tears, a beaver has a very, very mechanical and instinctual way in the way it walks. It follows the same path each time based on smell. And it will follow from its nest to the river, follows the same track each time. So it's like Mendel, once a certain beaver comes and on the way to the water, it sees that a trap was set for it. It sees the trap, and it knows if it takes one more step, it's going to fall into this trap. What does a beaver do? It starts crying, "Oh, I don't want to die, I don't want to die." It starts crying and starts crying. What does he do next?
Goes to the job.
Takes right for the next step. Because why? Because that's how it's used to doing all the time. That's the way it's doing things. How many times do we know, I need to work on myself, I need to change things? If only I change this and this, I know conceptually this is the right thing to do. And I know if I'll do it, I will grow and But when it comes to practicality, continue the same path you're always used to. How many times when we learned in our classes and in psychology today what's called epigenetics, that we inherit our parents' tikkunim and emotional issues and so on and so forth, and that's why we're prone to reacting one way or another. And we know that today modern psychology is not Kabbalah. You don't have to be 40 years old to learn this. Put on YouTube or put on Instagram, and all of a sudden it'll flow one reel after the other. And yet, and then the psychology tells you, what you got to do? You got to metabolize that trauma. Wherever you came from, whatever you're dealing with right now, your desire for God, your desire for health, you know why you don't have because this is what your parents, your grandparents went through. And you know what you have to do? Your aim over here is to metabolize the trauma. Means you have to take it, not blame. As we said before, what makes the marking of a fool? What makes a fool a fool? What makes a fool is that he blames everybody else around him. You know what makes a smart person? He blames only himself. But you know what makes a truly wise person? Doesn't blame anyone. Not anyone, not his parents, not anyone, not himself. A wise person takes action. What needs to be done? How do I work on this right now? How many times do we know, I have to change something in my life. This is not who I am. This is not what my grandparents lived and died for, my great-grandparents. This is not the purpose. I need to start living. And yet we have these beaver tears. I got to change. I got to spend more time with my kids, this, and I do this. And then we just continue the normal schedule of programming. What cries beaver tears? The animal soul. The animal soul is a creature of habit. It goes by patterns. All it knows is patterns. Muscle memory. Remember Pesach, we did this experiment? You remember this experiment? Those of you? All right, let's do a small experiment. For those of you who didn't or do know, you could do it a million times. It'll still happen every single time. Everybody cross your arms completely. And then uncross your arms. Now, every single time I'm going to say cross your arms completely. Not like this, not like I Dream of Jeannie, right? But literally like this. Okay, ready? Cross. Fast. Let's go, fast. No, as fast as possible. Let's go. And 1, and 2, and 3. No, Talene June, come on, you can do this. Come on. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. Come on. No, fast. Yasser, come on, fast. Right, now, ready. Fast. Now do the other side.
No.
You see that, David? You see that face?
See how I cannot.
You see that? You see, of course you get it. But you see, after 23 seconds of muscle memory to change directions, what does that mean? I'm already used to doing this. That's after 23 seconds of activity. Imagine this has been in your family for generations, and you need to make it about face. And that's the real reason you're here. This is called metabolizing the trauma.
So if we start crossing our arms like this,
What changed?
we've solved the trauma.
Well, what's the proverbial? What makes a habit? What makes a habit a habit?
Doing it over and over again.
A habit is a mindless, repetitive behavior. No intellect is necessary here. You get into the car, you start driving. You don't have to really. You remember the first time you got on the highway? I remember it. I was so afraid. You're like every single thing. You're like excited. Like I wasn't. I was. You know. Hashem knew what He was doing. What He only allowed me to get my license at 30. Because if I had my license earlier, the way I'm driving today, 47, Baruch Hashem, I'll tell you, Baruch Hashem, I didn't drive before 30. But I remember getting on the highway for the first time, and I was and then today it's like, yeah, I'm upset with, I'm going to blank drivers who are like impeding my driving. What is? Listen. I have a need for speed, no question about it. Like, I don't have the patience. I don't have the. You know where I have to learn. This is where I'm still right now. I'm not kidding. Every time today, yesterday, the week before, so on and so forth, where I'm learning Hashgacha Pratit is specifically with traffic. I'm trying to internalize this concept. Anyway. What is a habit? It's a mindless, repetitive behavior. Animal soul is a creature of habit. It's comfortable. That's why a person could be in a toxic situation. But so what? This is the way I'm doing it. That's it. Why? Because the animal doesn't think. It just feels. It feels good. Why do I need to change it? Mind you, even psychology will tell you that we become acclimated to toxicity very quickly. And what's toxic, and deep down we know it's toxic, we say, no, it's good, it's okay. That's why some people remain in an abusive relationship, some people remain in a relationship that doesn't belong to them. Whatever it is. But that's toxicity. How do you change? How do we change this? What was the problem of changing direction? Muscle memory. The animal soul is a creature of habit. I did this for 23 seconds. What do you mean change? I've been doing it forever now, 23 seconds. How do you break a habit? Split second. Introduce intellect to it. The second you're saying, wait, I need to change, intellect started. It's no longer just muscle memory anymore. Now you have to introduce an intellect from above to below to change courses. And that's hard. It's not easy. Because in modern culture we love feeling. Nothing's wrong with feeling. But the feeling must be just like the parents, Chochmah Bina, father and mother, produces emotions. Emotions must be guided and filtered through the intellect. Unabated emotions is like, anybody read Lord of the Flies here?
My favorite book.
Yeah? Okay.
One of my favorite books.
We know who to call for a revolution now.
Kill the pig, spill its blood, kill.
Yeah, Piggy? Yeah, right. So it's very interesting because Lord of the Flies did exactly what Animal Farm did for socialism. Lord of the Flies did for anarchy. And it's very interesting because the setting was a bunch of kids from a what's that called, a boarding school, a very very strict boarding school, took a trip, and somehow the boat was broken and they ended up on an island. Their headmaster was, I think he was dead. I read it in '93, but he was dead, and they end up alone on an island. Good kids, but by the end of the book, they're like tribesmen hunting each other. And it's crazy. It's insanity. This is emotions. If the emotions are not guided by the intellect, they go insane. It just goes insane. They become very habitual and very self-absorbed, and that creates toxicity at the long run. And the person will start feeling it almost immediately. Any person with some sensitivity will feel it immediately. Yeah, what was your question, Yasala?
It was about traffic. If you cut someone off, are you allowed to? Have you ever done that?
All the time. It's a sin. It's a sin the way they're driving that they have to make me have to come in there. You know, in Hebrew, the word chet means, one of the meanings of chet, it means incompletion. Sin means incompletion. They're driving half complete. I'm sorry that nobody taught them how to drive. All of them like they have like dilly-dallying going nowhere, like as though like life every moment isn't precious. It's like you could just like ride along, like we're going for a ride along over here. You gotta live. You gotta drive. I'm not going to speak about which particular population. However, there's one population that's more.
Men.
Oh no, men are aggressive drivers. Women are the opposite of aggressive drivers.
The Israelis are crazy drivers.
Let's stick to Tanya.
Chinese and the Asian.
Okay, so now, hey, welcome, Bochim Abayim. Let me get you. I want to make sure that all the cool. Listen, I know my driving skills. I'm a tactical driver, I can tell you that. But I have a lot to learn. Anyway, this is how the animal soul functions. Muscle memory. Habit. I'm already used to doing this. This is the way it's been done in my family. I liked it, I didn't. Incidentally, how many of you growing up with your parents said, I will never be like my parent, and one day you woke up and says, whoa, I'm my parent now.
No.
I'll never what?
Be like your parents.
I'll never be like them, and I'm nothing like them. Thank you very much.
You must be a new soul then. But why is it often that abusers become abusers, abused become abusers? Why is it that we grow up in a certain way and then we just continue even though we say, we'll never be that? I remember growing up and thinking, I'll never be like my father. Never, ever, ever. And today I get my father so much. I really get my father.
He's not in their shoes.
Because this is what we recognize as reality. Now the question is, and what are you doing with this reality? If God gave you this reality, it means you needed it. It's not incidental. It's not if I had different parents or different parenting or different setting or different background, my life would have somehow been better. Just the opposite. It's a fantasy that Yetzer Hara is trying to sell you so you don't take responsibility for what you need to do here, which is, in psychology, metabolize a trauma. What is the precedence for fixing something? Something has to be broken. So there's a part of our lives where God sets up that there's fragmentation in our life. But very important to note, very, very, and this is a make or break because the animal soul doesn't understand this. And the animal soul becomes very toxic very quickly because of this. Even though we might have fragmentation, and might have grown up with fragmentation, even though we have brokenness, and we might have grown up with brokenness, none of us are broken, ever. Each and every one of us are a piece of God. We are above corrections. We're here as God's wife. As we said before, the feminine soul is here only to complete her husband. Our neshamot, we are Hashem's wives. Each and every Jew is Hashem's wife. Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is her husband. Each and every one of us are drawn into this world to complete him, as it were. His desire. And for this, God gives us fragmentation. But that fragmentation is only there because we're here to fix. The animal soul sees this and doesn't like it. As we said before, the animal soul is very hyper-focused on comfort, on everything being good. It likes everything optical, nice. I don't know how it's by Persians. Maybe it's, I'm imagining what I know. I've been here since 16. Now I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the other Persians. But by Russians, I could tell you this is for sure. Don't get me started with Ukrainians. but no. I'm talking about none of us are that. But it's all about optics. It could be complete disaster in the home, but when the guests come, everything has to be nice and neat. And
Same thing in every culture.
Right? It has to be like because the animal soul only cares about the most external part, what people will think about it. That's it. Not does it need to fix, not does it need to work, not does it need to reshape, revise, none of that matters. So long, and this is where the American where the Americans did the worst with it. Because no matter how hard the Russians, the Persians, there's nothing harder, and this is not my word, that the previous Rebbe said this. There's no harder exile than the American exile. Because over here, it's an exile of luxury. And over here, the American phrase is, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. If it works, if it feels good, why should I do anything? It's fine. Why probe beneath the surface? But you see, when we live a surface life, after a while you feel this vacuum inside because you know you're here for something. You know you're here to correct. Asher bara Elokim la'asot. You say Kiddush? Who says Kiddush here Friday night? Say Kiddush? You say Kiddush? You say Kiddush? Yeah. What is it? We use a verse in Kiddush, the very last verse of the first portion of Bereshit. After Hashem created the entire world, the entire universe, what did it say? The very last verse, Asher bara Elokim la'asot. God created to do. Our sages ask, what does that mean, God created to do? Ein la'asot ela letaken, the Midrash says. God created everything perfect. Your spouses, your children, your parents, your grandparents, your genetics, Biden and Trump, and everything in between, perfect. For you to come and do. Specifically from a Kabbalistic perspective, the name Elokim means contraction. When there's lack of clarity, when there's room for darkness. Asher bara Elokim la'asot. God created Elokim. God created contraction. For what purpose? For us to come and fix and bring this into an exponentially higher state than it was ever before the world was created. What do we say immediately after? Yom HaShishi v'achol Hashemayim v'achal Elokim, right? Yom HaShishi v'achol Hashemayim v'aretz. What does that spell out? The acronym. Yom HaShishi v'achulu Hashemayim. Yud Hey. On Shabbat, Elokim stops. Yud Kei Vav Kei, the name of revelation is open. That's why V'achal Elokim. The verse says, and God stopped from creating. But Kabbalah explains, V'achal Elokim, contraction stops. Once the work week, once the 7 attributes, once the correction was done, you don't need these contractions anymore. The entire reason why we're here is to correct, fix. I want you to think to yourself right now, what in my life feels contracted? What in my consciousness doesn't feel right? What feels fragmented or even broken? And instead of saying, I don't want this, or I don't like this, or not my circus, not my monkeys, or like Billy Joe says, a good Long Island boy, we didn't start the fire. It's not my fault. I didn't do this. What do you want? It was always burning since the world's been turning. Right? 1988, right? But instead of saying that, which that's exactly what the animal soul like, because it doesn't want to be bothered. I can't be bothered is an animal soul expression. I don't want to deal with this animal soul expression. There's an I, and you know what? This doesn't make me feel comfortable. This doesn't make me feel loved and valued. I don't like this anymore. How many times did we deflect marital, family, societal, godly responsibility because I don't like it? It doesn't make me feel good. You're not here to feel good. You're here to do. When you start doing consistently, you will feel good. In as much as having good bonbons and good ice cream will definitely wake you up and give you that, your children, it still happens to me. If I have a good chocolate, I'm going to say, like, It's like dance, like, because the endorphins like that, right? But those, as good as it tastes right now, it's like the layaway plan. You buy now, pay later. It might not feel good, but like what got me through my diet when I had to lose my 70 pounds was one phrase. Who said being healthy is going to taste good? Very simple. Nobody's promising us to feel good. But you do the right thing over and over, you will feel good organically, not externally. Which brings us to where we left off last time, and we're going to go through this very quickly right now. This animal soul is equipped or is based on 4 elements. The element of fire, the element of water, the element of air, and the element of earth. And depending which element your animal soul's predominantly, because everything in this world has all 4 elements. What's accentuated in this cup is the earth element, the physical. But in here you have air, and here you have water, and you have heat, temperature. Each one of us has all 4. And here's how you know which element you are. The animal soul, as we started speaking last week, an animal soul of fire, heat rises upwards. You will see it mostly when you're triggered. Parenthetically, it's very important to really put this in here right now. What does the word triggered mean? This becomes such a popular word. I'm triggered. You triggered me.
We have friends that literally
Pissed.
fight because they heard that word.
What does the word triggered mean?
Upset.
No. See, upset is
The
upset.
point
Oh my God.
That started.
Pissed off.
Let me show you something.
Snappy.
Let me show you something. 43 years ago, June, right now, or the last day of June, so I guess it's 43 years, right, just about this week, I fell down a roof and cut my hand. I was 7 years old, fell down and sliced my hand open. Oh, I had miracles and miracles. In fact, I survived, and so on and so forth. But I was nearly paralyzed. I lost all uses of my hand. I lost this muscle and this tendons and so on and so forth. My grandmother, through her military contacts, was able to bring a neural microsurgeon from Switzerland through her army contact, and he was able to restore 75% usage of my hand. Very interesting. Till this day, look, you see this? Where it was tied? So I can't open, I can't. But since right here, till this day, this is 43 years already, I could hit El Sting. But and I'm not going to do it. I just can't, I can't bring myself to do it. If I flicker this area, I will get an electric signal going right through it. What's triggered means you bear an internal scar. That internal scar either originated in your psychological experience, the body consciousness experience, or maybe perhaps, as we said before, epigenetics, whatever that means. Could be a previous, whatever it is, a previous life. But when that is hit, it doesn't have to be like this even. It's a little flick. To the other person, like, what did I already say? What would I already do? I don't get it. Why are you so upset? It just doesn't make sense. That trigger, whatever triggers you, is indicative of at least one that you have to work on. It means you have an internal scar. And that scar is unhealed. And again, the animal soul keeps track and keeps accounting of everything. So it could protect itself. So it could survive. In psychology, neurology, it's called the negativity bias. We are hard-coded for this, to notice what's wrong and really become upset with it, so we could protect ourselves from getting hurt. So think to yourself, when's the last time you got upset? Just think that. When was the last time you got upset? All the stars are coming out today. When was the last time you got upset? And think to yourself, what really upset you? What really upset you? Why were you upset? Because it was absolutely wrong? Or because you felt helpless? Was it absolutely wrong? Or because maybe perhaps you didn't feel comfort and pleasure in this? Was it absolutely wrong, or you felt that you didn't have control in this situation? The animal soul will always react when one of those three triggers were hit.
Control.
It's first and foremost survivability. I need to survive. Whatever this, and that's a crazy thing. If we were taught from childhood that survival is me in control, then anytime something bothers that. By the way, somebody who Chaz v'Shalom was abused or molested or this or that, they're going to have a hyper sense of this, to the point where their animal soul will make them actually the predator, so no one could ever mess with them again. But that's an animal soul thing. We're not the animal soul. We're here in order to elevate this animal soul. We're here to elevate this fragmentation, to fix this fragmentation. Asher bara Elokim lasot. We have this fragmentation. We have this contraction within us. This is what we're here to fix. The animal soul, as soon as you see how does God get your attention? It needs to flick. How else would you know that something needs to be fixed? It needs to flick. But the animal soul, oh, you flick, that's it. That's it. I can't, no more. I have to defend, I have to offend. Once we know this, as soon as you feel that little race of a pulse, stop defending. Stop offending. Don't defend yourself. Don't offend. We said before, a fool will blame everybody else around them. A smart person will blame themselves. A truly wise person blames no one, takes responsibility. What can I do right now? If this is what's happening, what can be done right now? Very simple. Because why is being a fool blaming everyone? Because what, are you going to start changing the world around you? You're going to tell this one to do this? What, are you going to control the world around? And that's why it makes them a fool. They try to control, either through power, through this or that, to try to control everybody around them. Through guilt, through shame, through anger, they try to control. A smart person doesn't want to control others. Live and let live. I'm the bad guy. I'm wrong. Something's wrong with me. What's wrong with thinking about that? What's wrong with thinking everybody's good? I'm the one that caused this.
That's a smart person?
Yes, a smart
I thought
person.
a smart person, you said, is the one who doesn't blame
That's
either
no,
himself
that's
or
a
others.
wise person.
Oh, that's a wise
Why
person.
is it wrong to blame yourself? Because one of the mechanisms of the animal soul, and how psychology explains this, is to ruminate over things it has no control over. And in doing this, it deflates its ability to do anything. One of the things that the Alter Rebbe is going to explain in Chapter 26 of Tanya is that feeling joy and happiness is the fuel for your responding in life. Notice one thing: when you start reacting, or your children, or your spouses, or anybody around you for that matter, goes into reactionary mode where it starts trying to control and scream in this, or there's no way I can do this, or becomes lazy or lethargic or procrastinating, well, guess what? Where do you have to look? Within yourself. But what part of yourself? There's only one part you have to look. Why don't I feel joy right now? Why don't I feel happiness? Because as long as you're going to feel joy, as long as you're going to feel happy, it doesn't matter what comes at you. You're going to keep on going. You're going to become, don't worry about it, it's fine. But if I don't feel joy or happiness inside, I will feel I can't anymore. I'll give up. I won't know what to do. I'll start blaming them. I'll blame myself. Why is it wrong to blame yourself? Because you're going to start self-loathing. And that's going to deflate your ability to do anything. A truly wise person says, forget about blaming them or me, or God or my parents or anybody. Who needs to blame anyone? What am I going to do right now? That's it. This is why I love coaching over therapy. Coaching always focuses on the now. That's the Rebbe's way. Coaching always focuses, the Rebbe's way is like, what you've done until now, that's divine providence. If it happened to you, if you did this, this is divine providence. God needed you for whatever reason to go through this. Stop blaming him, stop blaming her, stop blaming this and that. God, stop. That's just your Yetzer Hara trying to hold you down. God needed you going through all of this so right now you could take responsibility. I always tell, sometimes I sit in front of couples, and so long as I was just speaking to a person about an hour before I came here today, and they were saying, I can't, I think it's done, and this. I said, listen, your emotions are toxic. And so you're viewing it, and you don't even understand your emotions. You're viewing everything through a very, very dark lens. Stop blaming it. I said, yeah, but it's so even if I get in touch with my emotions at this point, and if I start feeling now, it's just too late. I said, no, according to Chassidut, according to Kabbalah, if you came this far into toxicity, this is exactly where you need to fix for your previous life, for your previous corrections. If God allows you to sink this deep, means your tikkun begins in the exact vacuum point where you woke up. The moment you woke up, why didn't you wake up a minute ago, an hour ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Why now? Because whatever happened in previous lives, your parents and this required you to come this far down to fix. Like a root canal, you need to go to the source of the toxicity. So instead of blaming and shaming and this, okay, this is what happened. But what are you doing now? Fire element, when you have a person that has a fire element animal soul, their reaction is anger. Their reaction is ego, destructiveness, the words that will come out of this person. Burn right through everything. Will consume everything in its path, leaving nothing more than ashes. Takes away the water, the chesed, the love. Takes away the air, the malleability. Takes away the even the fire of the godly soul. It just takes away everything. It all leaves is ashes. I feel like I'm a nobody or nothing. I just want to shut down. That's it. You ever dealt with somebody really angry, and after that fire, you ever, you know what you remember what you felt? It's like so defeated. Why? Because all the elements, like when fire bursts with something, it consumes all the other elements, and all that's left is the element of earth, dust. Water is just the opposite. Wow, I'm telling you. Let's start. Could you pose together, the coach and the coach? Notice water. What is water? Water, as Kabbalah explains, is the source of all pleasure. We know when you go to a waterfront property, to beaches and everything, that's where you're able to relax in the water. Because water in Kabbalah irrigates vegetations and food and so on and so forth. People with a water animal soul, dominant element, tend to gravitate when their animal soul is stirred up, when they feel things out of control, I'm out of control, things are fragmented in my life, things are broken in my life. Instead of not blaming, not shaming. What is it going to do? It's just going to go to external synthetic pleasures, drugs, promiscuity, anything to make me feel temporarily good so I don't have to think about dealing with this right now. I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't like this. It doesn't make me feel good. Let me run away to this. Let me run away to this. Let me run away. I want to feel good over here. I want to feel good over here. So that's what we know there's comfort eating. Why is comfort eating a thing? Why? Because when you're eating, like I said before, I eat chocolate, I eat a yummy treat, I start like dancing. Why? Because endorphins are physical, but the physical is only revealing what's happening on these psychological. Psychological is only the spiritual. If I eat right now something sweet, I don't have to think about the bitterness that I have to deal with. It's a substitute, empty calories, but they're yummy. But mind you, I remember walking with my Zalman when he was about 4 years old in Israel. We were walking, and it was a hot summer day, and he's like, "Abba, Tati, I'm thirsty. Could you buy something to drink?" So there's a kiosk over there. I bring him Zalman. What do you want? He sees some juice. He says, "I want that juice." I said, "You sure you don't want water?" He says, "Yeah, I want that. I want the water. I want the juice." I buy the water and he drinks. I buy the juice, and 5 minutes later he drinks, and 10 minutes later he says, "I'm so thirsty." Why? Because if you sway yourself, if you're attached to synthetic pleasures instead of actually saturating the desire for purpose, for growth, to fix, each and every one of us innately feels we're here to fix. And if we just lighten ourselves with the external pleasures, wow, immediately it'll feel good. But a vacuum becomes greater and greater and greater to the point where we become hyper thirsty. But that's the way the animal soul reacts to things. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to, because it makes me feel uncomfortable. It doesn't make me feel good. Optically, people will speak about me and this and that and that. Air. What's the air? Air.
Oh, the airhead.
Air is an airhead. Why is air? You ever seen a big balloon? It's humongous, but it's filled with nothing. Air reaction is non-substantive behaviors. Whether it's binge watching shows, whether it's just talking for the sake of talking, just like stupid talk. There's no substance to it. Running away from life is the air sign. You know, people who are air signs, one of their traits, everything's a joke.
Everything what?
Everything's a joke. They're cynical and sarcastic. Everything. Why? Because I don't want to take this seriously. This is too heavy. This is too much. I don't want to.
Right key to everything.
Huh?
The right key to everything.
Well,
Being passive.
exactly. So it's like it doesn't work. Nothing. And then finally, the worst out of the four elements is the earth element. So fourth, because it's equivalent to sadness and depression. I'm not angry. I don't care to feel good. I don't want to sleep alone. I just want to be by myself, shut down, get under a blanket and deal with nothing. I want to paint it black. I want to deal with nothing. It's the worst because that's death. So long as it's fire, even towards the wrong direction, it could be maneuvered towards the right direction. But if depression, there's nothing you could do with it. There's no way to elevate it. That's why a Hasidic master says there's no mitzvah to be happy and there's no sin of being sad. But no mitzvah could carry the neshama and the psyche to where joy and happiness could carry the person. And no aveira and no sin could destroy the person as quickly as depression. These are all animal soul reactions. Why are they reactions? Because even if you got angry, even if you went to foreign substances, synthetic pleasures, even if you binge watched and joke after joke, even if you shut down, nothing was dealt with. The situation remains exactly that. But now it's even worse. Because I already scream. How many times can I scream at you? You ever heard that? The parents say, how many times can I already scream at you to tell you?
Too often.
What happens? Well, what would you expect? That you're going to scream and things are going to change? Oh, you thought you're going to go on drugs, or you're going to go this and things are going to change? Oh, you thought you thought you're going to make jokes and binge watch for 10 hours something and things are going to change in your life? You thought avoiding this situation altogether and shutting down from it is actually going to change something in your life? They're called reactions because that's exactly what you know what? It's a reaction because the animal soul not protected itself. It didn't have to deal with this. But then it encrusted itself even further than it began. And this is so much more psychologically daunting. I've dealt with this before and nothing changed. That's the way the animal soul ruminates. You see, I dealt with it. I said, I did. Nothing, you didn't. Nothing was dealt with. The animal soul is a creature of habit. It continues the same pattern. It will cry those beaver tears, knowing that it's in a certain path of destruction and still take the same path each time. You want to break that path? That's where the godly soul comes in. Intellect. Want to break that muscle memory that we just did? Introduce intellect. A habit is a mindless behavior. You don't have to think. It's always been done this way. It's muscle memory, epigenetics, whatever it is. This is a way it's always been. My parents, his parents, her parents, their parents. Okay, that's all muscle memory. You want to change? Introduce intellect. Novelty. Because intellect in Kabbalah, light is synonymous with intellect. Vayikra Elokim lo Yom Or. And the Torah in Bereshit says Hashem called light, daylight. And the Zohar says, what's light? Chokhmah, intellect. So now I'm going to, and this is a homework for the week. Think about the last time you reacted, where there was fire, anger, it was water, synthetic pleasures, where there was air, binge watching, or scoffing, or that, or this. Some people go to the gym now. You know, some people go to the gym now. I have to work out. Do you want to put on something? No, I have to work out today. Why? Why today? No, I have to. Why? Why do you have to? No, I have to. No logic. I just have to. What do you mean more? Why?
It's suppressing their real feelings.
Because they don't know what to deal with. That's exactly it. Nothing's wrong. As we spoke about in today's morning class, you have to. Halacha is you have to maintain a healthy body. You must work out. No question about it. But instead of dealing with your life, or with earth. So think about when's the last time you reacted in, and what triggered. As we said, a trigger is an inborn scar. It means inside of you something's unhealed, something has not been dealt with. And that's why it hurts when it's triggered. In other words, it's not the person. That's why you can't blame them. You have the scar inside of you. That should only arouse your attention. I need to fix. If God gave me contraction, I need to do. And ask yourself one question. Right now, am I reacting or am I responding? Catch yourself. Am I reacting? Means it's my animal soul. It means I could guarantee nothing's going to be fixed right now. Nothing. Doesn't matter how great it feels or how opposite of great it feels. Nothing's going to be fixed. You want to fix? Get out of your comfort zone. Because your animal soul is your comfort zone. And even Carol Dweck in the book Mindset teaches, you want to be successful in life, you want to be successful in relationship, you want to be successful in any aspect of real life, learn to be comfortable to be uncomfortable. Because comfort is where success goes to die. Any success. Because it's the animal soul. And all the animal soul just wants to protect itself, just to feel good. So you can feel good like a little child, but you're not accomplishing anything. Yes, it's not going to feel good, but who, again, like I'm going to say what I said before, like that sentiment I had to constantly tell myself in the first week of my diet. No one said that being healthy is going to taste good. Nobody promised you that. And incidentally, in life, nobody promised us that life is going to be easy. We have no contract with God, nowhere in the Torah that life should be easy. Functional, yes. Purposeful, absolutely holy, amazing, yes, 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 yes. Animal soul wants easiness. So now, you want a problem resolute? Take the word easy, comfortable, tasty out of the equation. The next time you're dealing with real life issues, and real life issues are cyclical. Something that's cyclical means that we haven't yet dealt with it. And ask yourself, am I responding or am I reacting? Not what makes me feel good, not what doesn't make me feel good. What am I here to do? Practically. What am I needed for right now? As we learned in today morning's class. Ask yourself with your spouse. Ask yourself with your children. Ask yourself with your colleagues. Ask yourself with your parents, your siblings, your community members. Am I more reactive in my life, trying to shun away uncomfortability, and that's why I'm stuck in a perpetual cycle of toxicity? And if I really have the aim to break through it, well, God gave us the godly soul, which we're going to be learning about next week, a part which is beyond the human condition. So far, everything we've described thus far, the animal soul, the body consciousness, is called the human condition. And each and every one of us, to a large measure, has that trapping. But what allows us to transcend that trapping is the godly soul, a piece of infinity which is launched towards each and every one of us. And for that, you have to ask yourself, first and foremost, half of the solution is recognizing the issue. Einstein said, if you have but 1 minute to resolve an issue, spend 50 seconds understanding the issue. Because once you understand that issue, then you have 10 seconds of clarity of dealing with it. And of course, with God's help, then you could definitely fix it. It's not my own handiwork. I'm not God. There's a God. I need to do my best in this world, as best as I can. He'll do the rest. You have trust in God. Let you do your best. God will do the rest. So let's give a bracha in honor of Reb Mendel's 30th yortzeit. That's why today was more of a Farbrengen in the class and so on and so forth. Everyone over here should be blessed to be able to think, say, and do the right things. This is a blessing that Reb Mendel received from the Rebbe. When the Rebbe appointed Reb Mendel to be the mashpia, the mentor for thousands, the Rebbe gave him a bracha. You should be able to say the right things to the right people at the right times in the right manner. L'chaim, all the parents here should be able to think about themselves and about their children and speak to themselves. Mind how you speak to yourself. We're going to get into that self-talk next lesson. Say the right things to yourself. to the people in the right way, in the right manner, to the right people in the right manner, and do the right things with yourself, with others, spouses, community leaders. Give you a bracha that you should be able to think and say and do the right things with the right people in the right manner.
Amen.
Devora bat Haisar Asher ben Mami Mochtara Tamara bat Sharon bat Tamara Yafim Chaim ben Tatiana Tova Yosef ben such a rebel. Such a rebel. I love that about you, Yosef. Okay, Yosef ben Esther. Esther bat Miriam. Alona bat Chana. Miriam bat Sarah. David ben Esther. Huh? Gavriel ben Bilha. David ben Yamam. Another rebel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Asher.
Ashaf. Huh? Rachel bat? No, Sylvia. What's your Hebrew name?
Sylvia.
Sylvia bat Rachel.
Meir
Meir ben Sarah. Huh?
Hora.
Hora? Yafa. Aliza bat Chaya.
Sarah bat Eliza.
Sarah bat Eliza. Olga no bat Ella. Shoshana bat Maya. Michal ben Giti. Yehuda ben Dina.
Lior ben Gila.
Lior ben Gila. All those, every one of us here should be blessed in the zchut of the 31st Hilula of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which we celebrated yesterday, and we're on the way to the 12th of Tammuz next week, the previous Rebbe's birthday and the day of his release, as well as today's Reb Mendel's Yortzeit. And I can tell you one thing about Reb Mendel. Reb Mendel would have give each and every one of you a blessing, galore you can't imagine. Hashem should give you each and every one as a bracha. Those who need shidduchim should be blessed with shidduchim. Amen. Those who need shalom bayit should be blessed with shalom bayit. Those who need and want and deserve nachat ruach and Jewish nachat ruach from their children and their grandchildren until Mashiach comes should be blessed with this openly. And everyone here should experience a complete and utter redemption from all the hindrances and all the Elohim and all the galut. Everything we spoke about this until now is theoretical. At this point, God needs to make tshuva. He needs to make tshuva. He needs to take the yesar. The Jewish people proved to God like a wife whose husband walked out 3,000 years and says, "Keep my soup warm, I'll be back in an hour." And here we are 3,000 years later, we're keeping Hashem's soup still warm. What kind of crazy wife we are. Hashem needs to make tshuva. Take away the Elohim, take away all the fragmentation. The Lord Galus, L'chaim.
Amen.
I'm not gonna laugh. I just found out she's the mother-in-law of my cousin.
Who?
The in-laws to my cousin.
My oldest son,
Yeah?
his wife,
Yeah.
is his cousin.
Oh, that's
My first
funny.
cousin. I just found out now.
Wow, the Beatles are reunited here, Baruch Hashem. Avdil.
Yeah. What are the odds of that?
All right, hold on one second. Esther.
There are no coincidences.
1 second, ladies and gentlemen, one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, who's Kinarod? Еврейский народ. Слушайте, пожалуйста, слушайте внимательно. Завтра вечер мы будем иметь урок. Tomorrow we're learning. Live. Tomorrow's lesson is about listening with empathy.
Yeah, but I don't.
Image Hashem, next Tuesday night, we're all either Tuesday. I'm pretty much counting on Tuesday night. If something changes, we'll post. But we're going to the Rebbe's, the Ohel, because next Tuesday night is the previous Rebbe's birthday. The Rebbe's birthday, Mazalo Gover, on one's birthday, the Mazal becomes stronger. The previous Rebbe had Misurat Nefesh for Russian Jews, for American Jews.
Next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday, if something changes, I'm going to let you know. But we're counting hopefully because next Tuesday and Wednesday at our calendar is a very special days. Both Tuesday and Wednesday are because Tuesday and Wednesday are the previous Rebbe's birthday and the day he was released from jail. And as I said in the beginning of the class, the previous Rebbe says not only I was released from jail, but any Jew, even by title, doesn't openly identify as a Jew, but just by title, they're released. In other words, this is a day that if you have any sort of incarceration, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, any sort of blockages, any sort of stuckness, this is a day to undo it. We're going to go to the Ohel as we did in previous years, have a Farbrengen 3 doors down from the Ohel in the trailer. And after that, because it says what a Hasidic Farbrengen, this is why I wanted to do today as a Farbrengen more than a class. You know, like other times we usually stick to the text. Today we really veered away more or less because it says what a Farbrengen can accomplish, the Baal Shem Tov says even the greatest angels cannot accomplish. And that's why in a course of Farbrengen you could give a bracha and it will materialize with rapidness. So today, because it was Reb Mendel's birthday and the extension of Gimel Tammuz, Reb Mendel's your side, in the extension of Gimel Tammuz, this is why we Farbrengen today. And that's why we give her the brachot. Like we usually don't do this in the class time. You usually do this at Farbrengen. But next Tuesday, which is the previous Rebbe's birthday and the anniversary of his release, we're going to be Farbrengen together as a community. We're all going to write Pidyon Nefesh. We usually around 7. We meet around there at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then we Farbrengen for just about an hour and a quarter, and then we go to the Ohel. We write Pidyon Nefesh. If you have anybody who needs a bracha for anything, this is a day for miracles. Next Tuesday. It's right now. It's scheduled. It's Tuesday.
Watch the WhatsApp. Just watch the WhatsApp.
We could arrange carpools if you want, or you could meet over there. It's not like today where it was very, very hectic and busy. Or yesterday it was very hectic and busy. It's much more lighter. We could go in and very easy. But if anybody, spouse, parents, children, need any brachot for anything, it doesn't matter. This is a day that transcends nature. The Yubei Tammuz, Gimel Tammuz transcends nature. So if
you're doing it at Pidyon Nefesh,
we do, yeah, Pidyon Nefesh.
So Tuesday night meeting. Oh, I'm not here. Sorry.
Tuesday evening. Tuesday.
Pray for me. Are you going to
12th is Tuesday. 13th Tuesday. Queens is 20 minutes away from here. Yeah. And okay, let me ask you a question. Just a roundabout. Talene June, what did you get from today?
What did I get?
Let's go the takeaway very quickly.
Today I got that I'm fire.
Okay. Like in the words of Beavis, fire.
Today I understood the animal souls. Higher, the highest. And that. What else? That there's 3, the Asur, the 3
Klipot.
holy Klipot, but there's 1 holy Klipot,
Translucent.
1 translucent Klipot, and then there's the other side. Everything was built with the other side in mind as well.
And we're going. This is only the foundation.
The image, the Sadiq, the Mem, the Lamed, the Sadiq, the.
Rabbi Osher, what did you gain? What did you gain?
He wanted to leave before you got to it.
Rabbi, the plan didn't work.
Rabbi Osher, what did you gain?
the fact that if something triggers you, it's actually is a sensitivity that is inside the person, and I guess the solution is for the person to work on that sensitivity.
Very good. Rabbi Chaim, what did you gain from today? Olga, 10 minutes. Chaim, what did you gain?
People to love each other, each of them reciprocally has to be aligned with the other person and want to do what the other person wants, and perhaps even anticipate and do it proactively. So that's one.
By the way, tomorrow night, that's going to be the focus. Because as we already broached last week, empathy. Empathy is the key. And you need to learn how to listen to your real self, your inner child, in order to listen to their inner child. Otherwise, you're going to reject their inner child as soon as it starts making tantrums. If a person finds themselves reacting to their inner child, we make tantrums. We react. The animal soul that we spoke about before goes into one of these 4 reactions when the inner child makes the tantrum. So if we suppress that inner child, we're going to try to suppress the other's inner child. Olga, what did you gain?
The 2 souls. Very good. I think I learned again that the animal soul is stronger, which is something I was debating. What else? Yeah, I think that was the big.
Yasala, what did you gain?
Yeah, the animal soul is dominant to the inner soul because the soul doesn't want to come down. But once it's down, it becomes much holier because it's forced, and it's the ultimate test that God gives the human, that the soul in heaven never gets to experience. They're just chilling in heaven.
I love I didn't use the word today, but I love that you use the word test, because in Hebrew the word nisayon. And we're going to be learning this in about 2 weeks from now. Actually, next week in Yubei Tammuz. The word nisayon, test, is etymologically related to the word nes, miracle, but also nes, like the mast of a ship. The whole point of a test is just to raise you to a place you could never get to without this. To reveal to you to reveal to you who you are, who the real you is. And number 2, to raise the real you to a place you can never get to without this test. Understand, everything that you went through thus far was only to help you discover the real you. So you won't live a facade life.
Also the klipa has to get kind of slowly torn off for your real light to shine through.
Right.
So that's like a light which shines.
Right. Yeah. Esther, what did you gain from today? Did he teach you this in the Kabbalah Center?
Anything else?
Mic drop.
Now that's it. And we're here to reach the best version of ourselves by going against our nature.
Not the best. The truth version of ourselves. Because the truth of it is, because best, not best, that's already when you come into this world. The truth version of yourself is, to call magnificent is an understatement. If you know how good you are, you can't imagine what you'll be feeling your entire life.
So basically, not to push things away, to face them, bring it on, and to deal with things.
No defense, no offense. I'm not angry. I'm not saying, okay, what can I do right now? That's it. That's it. What can I do right now? The animal soul is emotional. So like, oh no, you made me angry. No, I forget to put that aside. What could be done right now? That's it. Very simple. Mayor.
Where do you think you're going?
Mayor, what did you gain from today? Mayor.
I told you.
I realized that I'm my father's copy. No matter what I do, I can't change it.
No, you see, that's the one thing. The one point we didn't get to. the one thing we didn't get to, but you're not meant to. You were given that on purpose. There's a reason why God made him your father. Anything that, incidentally, fire in the animal soul, which is anger, could translate in for the godly soul. Nothing will stop me. Am Yisrael Chai. How are we Chai with all the entire world against us? That's fire. No matter what you do to me, I'm keeping forward. I'm moving forward. Nothing's going to stop me. Who do you think you are? They're going to stop me? I'm going to show you. That's a godly fire. Water. It's malleable. It moves. It's everywhere. It goes. In other words, you put me here. Doesn't matter. I'm good. Air. Shh. You're going to scream at me. You're going to call me a jid, a this, a kaika. It's like I don't take anything seriously. I'm not going to take your words.
Jid means grandpa in Arabic. What's jid mean?
In Russian, it means a little different.
You don't want to know.
It means a kike. But in other words, like the air aspect of the godly soul is like of the godly soul. Okay, you said it. Like my first boss taught me. He said, so what? You're going to get upset because he said. Well, he said because he came from wisdom, it came from knowledge, or maybe it came from his own animal soul. You're going to let his words affect you now because he said so. He said, who cares? That's the air sign. I don't have to take you seriously. Your child made a tantrum. This is okay, fine. I'm gonna let that bring me down. Earth. Everything grows upon earth. Stability. Firm. I know my definition. You could step on me. Doesn't change who I am. See, every one of these things, every one of these elements, God created everything as a counterpart.
That's the other side.
And right. So God, there's another side. There's also the holy. Everything that's in the counter, you could find the holiness. So the fact that you were born to your father and you have, it means nothing's wrong. It's just the opposite. God knew exactly what he did. He believes in you so much. He believes in your father so much. He gave him his qualities and gave it to you. So you could be the one that metabolizes the trauma. And yes, you can. By recognizing and asking yourself, very simple, right now, in my day-to-day, how can I change the way I think about things? What do I mean? Maybe you can't change the way you think overall. But as soon as the thought hits your head, it's like, wait, I need to filter this. I can't just allow this to go unchecked the way I always did. Words. Okay. I always, as soon as something triggers me, wait, I need to filter. I might not be able to change my entire dialect, my entire style of speaking, but I could certainly right now filter a word. In doing that, I'm introducing intellect into this mindless behavior that I'm always used to. And that, in that way, I'm changing already courses. And in behavior, certainly. If I'm always used to doing the same thing, this has always been the way I dealt with things. Well, you know what, this time, I could step a little further. I could change things. And then you'll be the hero of your family. Because that's who you are, Meir. Meir is the one that illuminates. As you know, it says, the Gemara says, why is the Rebbe Meir Meir? Because he would illuminate the eyes of the sages. America. Holy, holy, holy. Sylvia, what do you get from today?
Well, I never gave it much thought about. I knew the souls, and I never knew what the animal soul. The importance of it, actually, the role of it, and it's really. Now I understand how it actually, some of the actions, they came from the animal soul, and that really puts everything into perspective. That was
just one extra. I love what you just said, but just one slight addition. Not just the actions, even the way of thinking, even the way of communicating.
Absolutely, and the most important thing thing that I learned is that when I'm upset, I eat. So I learned that I'm water.
Rebbe said, what did you gain from today?
Strength emanates from the essential point of view. Emanates from the essential point of view.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shavua Tov. I'll see you tomorrow, Mr. Hashem.